Love. It's the one thing that can make you feel like you own the world, and in the very next moment, leave you feeling like you've lost everything. We're told to believe in it, to chase it, to fight for it no matter what. But what happens when that love you gave your whole heart to slips away? What happens when the person you trusted with your soul becomes a memory you can't escape? Today, I want to talk about something most people are afraid to say out loud. If you lose your love, don't love again. Not because love is weak, but because what you gave was real, rare, and once in a lifetime. Some hearts aren't meant to be rebuilt again and again. Some feelings are so deep, so pure, that repeating them would only dilute their truth. This is not a story about bitterness. This is about understanding the weight of genuine love, and what it truly costs to lose it. You don't forget real love. You don't replace it like an old habit or a worn-out shirt. Real love is not something you try on again with someone else, just because the first one slipped through your fingers. It doesn't work like that. And deep down, you know it. You can feel it in the quiet moments, in the spaces between your thoughts, in the way certain memories still arrive uninvited and sit beside you like they belong there. People will tell you to move on. They always do. They'll say, you'll find someone better, as if love is a competition, as if hearts are trophies waiting on a shelf for you to pick the next best one. But what you felt, that connection, that intensity, that silent understanding without words, it wasn't ordinary. It wasn't something you can just recreate with a different face and a different name. It had weight. It had meaning. It had a presence that cannot be copied. No matter how hard someone tries to convince you otherwise, you gave something rare. Not everyone can do that. Not everyone dares to open themselves completely, to stand unguarded in front of another human being and say, this is me. No masks, no filters, no conditions, just truth. And when that kind of honesty meets another soul, it creates something that doesn't come twice. It leaves a mark. Not a scar of weakness, but a signature of truth, carved deep into who you are. And when it's gone, it doesn't mean you're broken. It means you experienced something most people spend their entire lives chasing and never truly finding. That kind of love changes the way you see everything. It raises your standards, not just for others, but for yourself. You can't go back to shallow feelings after you've drowned in something deep. You can't pretend that surface-level connections are enough when you've already felt what it means to truly belong to someone and have them belong to you in return. So when people ask why you don't try again, why you don't open your heart to someone new, they don't understand what it cost you to love like that in the first place. They don't understand the courage it took, the vulnerability it demanded, the risks you accepted without hesitation. They don't understand that some emotions aren't meant to be repeated. They are meant to be lived once, fully, completely, and then carried as a quiet strength inside you. Losing love like that doesn't make you empty. It makes you aware. Aware of what is real and what is not. Aware of the difference between passing attraction and something that touches your soul. And once you know that difference, you can't pretend anymore. You can't settle. You can't lie to yourself just to fill a space that was never meant to be filled again. Because that space is not a gap. It's a memory. It's a reminder of something that once existed in its purest form. There's a kind of dignity in choosing not to love again the same way. Not out of fear, but out of respect for what you had. Because repeating it carelessly would only reduce its value. It would turn something sacred into something ordinary. And you know it was never ordinary. You felt it in your bones. You saw it in the smallest details. You heard it in the silence between words. That kind of connection doesn't fade just because time passes. You carry it differently now. Not as pain, but as proof. Proof that you were capable of something real in a world that often isn't. Proof that your heart wasn't small, wasn't weak, wasn't afraid. And that matters more than trying to replace it with something less. That matters more than forcing yourself into something that feels incomplete, just because you were told that being alone is something to fear. People think strength is in starting over again and again. Sometimes it is. But sometimes, strength is in knowing that what you had was enough for a lifetime. Strength is in refusing to dilute it just to feel less alone. Strength is in standing still, holding on to that truth, even when the world tells you to let go and move on, because not everything is meant to be replaced. Some things are meant to be remembered. You begin to see the world differently after that kind of love. Conversations feel lighter, connections feel thinner, and you notice the difference immediately. Not because others are less valuable, but because you have already experienced something that set the standard too high to ignore. You can smile, you can talk, you can even enjoy moments with people, but there is always a quiet awareness inside you that reminds you of what real depth feels like. And that awareness changes your choices. It changes how you carry yourself. You stop chasing attention. You stop seeking validation. You stop confusing loneliness with the need for someone new. Because you understand that loneliness is temporary, but replacing something real with something artificial leaves a different kind of emptiness. One that doesn't go away easily, so you learn to sit with yourself. You learn to listen to your own thoughts without needing distraction. You learn that silence is not your enemy. It becomes your space, your ground, your place of clarity. And in that silence, you begin to realize that losing love did not take everything from you. It revealed something inside you that you didn't know existed. You realize that your worth was never tied to being loved by someone else. It was revealed through how deeply you were able to love. And that ability doesn't disappear just because the person is gone. It stays with you. It becomes part of you. It shapes how you see the world, how you treat others, how you understand yourself. And maybe that's the point people miss. It's not about refusing love out of bitterness. It's about understanding that what you experienced cannot be recreated on demand. It cannot be forced into existence just because you feel like trying again. It either happens in its pure form, or it doesn't happen at all. So you don't rush. You don't search desperately. You don't lower your standards just to feel something again. You protect what you experienced by not allowing it to be compared to something less. You honor it by not pretending that anything else feels the same when it doesn't. And over time, you become someone who doesn't need to explain this to anyone. You don't argue. You don't justify your choices. Because you know what you felt. You know what it meant. And that knowledge is enough. You don't love again the same way. Because you can't. Because what you had was not something that comes twice. Because some connections are once in a lifetime. And trying to recreate them only leads to disappointment. You don't force your heart into situations where it doesn't fully belong. You don't pretend that history can repeat itself in the same way. With the same depth, with the same truth. So you don't chase it again. You don't force it. You don't pretend. You live with it. You grow with it. You become stronger because of it. And you carry that quiet fire inside you, not needing anyone else to prove that it was real, not needing another story to validate the one you already lived. Not needing another person to confirm that what you felt was enough.